Oh my god, she's a weirdo.
Hello, 'tis I, Fat Cow. Well, this is annoying. I tried to turn my back on Gorlworld. I did say I'd only come back and comment if something remarkable happened. And, well, apart from a couple of things that have really annoyed me, which I covered, nothing remarkable is happening. So why am I here? I'm here because something remarkable is about to happen. Allow me to elaborate. Currently, someone on the internet is displaying an incredible level of vulgarity in their e-begging. It is obvious to anyone with a pair of eyes that they are desperate for money. Now, we know that a good portion of their salary goes directly to pay off their debts, and that if they earn more money, the amount they pay towards their debts increases. So basically, they're left with the same set amount of money afterwards every month, regardless of how well the channel is, or in this case, isn't doing. The same does not apply to money received via PayPal, particularly if the money received via PayPal goes under friends and family and not the normal way, because it's quite easy to hide from, let's say, a trustee who is in charge of how much you pay to cover your debts, let's say. Additionally, any money that comes through PayPal is available instantly, unlike any money that comes via YouTube, which is initially deducted 30% by Google and is paid the next month, not the month that you earned it. Therefore, any money that is made via super chats, let's say, this month, May, will not hit a certain somebody's bank account until the third week in June. Now, my money, such as it is, always goes in on the 24th of the month, or whatever the next working day is if it falls on a weekend or bank holiday. So there's no question in this certain individual's mind when their money that's been earned this month through YouTube, like super chats and things, will go into their account. Somewhere between the 21st and the 26th, the same day, regularly, so they know what day it goes in, which happens to coincide with the last day they have before they have to renew their alleged travel visa. That's kind of the opposite of parentheses. Yeah, I'm saying alleged when we all know, you know. It's me trying to be funny. Ignore it. So, a large amount of money via super chats that have been accrued due to the flagrant e-begging is due to hit round about the time somebody has to travel. Although, you know, they just happen to be travelling or happen to be unable to appear online for some reason, third week in June. So there's that. And it's going to be quite a lot because $600 was raised during the 12-hour stream alone. Out of that $600, YouTube will take 200 of it, but still $400 for a 12-hour stream, in addition to what you make normally. And we've had 100 for a fun day out, which, as far as I'm concerned, hasn't been fulfilled because there's been nothing about fun. Nothing fun whatsoever. Yes, they've gone out. Hasn't been fun though, so I would call that a debt still owed. And even since that 100, there's been daily goals, let's say, for random stuff in the future, content wise. One could argue that could be just about bloody anything. You could literally now be throwing your money at this individual just for them to appear on screen. That's it. Lying down on the sofa. $10 you've paid for that. You've paid $10 to see somebody lie down on a sofa. Brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. Some people actually, their actual job is to test mattresses, so they are actually paid per hour to lie on mattresses. And even that is probably more interesting to watch than anything that this individual is currently producing. It's definitely a job I'd be interested in. I would lie on that mattress so hard. I'd be the best mattress tester on the planet. I can guarantee it. Because if there is a mattress on this planet that would give me a pain-free, comfortable night's sleep, I would be there. Anyway, that's not the point. The point of the matter is somebody really, really, really needs money. And by all appearances, they need the money for the third week in June, which happens to be, according to sources who are keeping track of things, exactly the time they need to F off the internet or F out of the country. When I say F off the internet, it means F out of the country, but pretending to be sick, let's say, in order to not to get into trouble with the Kuwaiti law. And talking about getting into trouble with the Kuwaiti law, it's worth noting that e-begging, asking for money on the internet while being in the country of Kuwait, is against the law. I wonder how many people have decided this is the route to go down to in order to put an end to certain activities by this certain individual, or might consider, an avenue that maybe needs investigating. I'm personally of the opinion that Foodie made a deal with the devil and has exchanged their immortal soul, because they obviously don't have one. The devil's got it, in exchange for not being penalised for doing shit, not being penalised for doing things that are illegal, not being penalised for doing things that are immoral, and not being penalised for gluttony, because she's made of Teflon and obviously has some sort of force field around her where actual things that are thrown at her just bounce back off. If I said the F word within the first 7 seconds of my video, that video would probably be gone. YouTube would be on it and I would be punished. But no, not this particular individual. This particular individual can actually show her lady parts on YouTube, and the video still remains. It's bizarre. Anyway, I deviated. What a surprise. Now, this is where the remarkable thing that's about to happen is due to happen. So we've got about a month. Now, the grifting isn't going to suddenly end at the end of the month when, you know, the money for this interesting time in the history of is going to occur, because things are going to change. Unless, but I'll get to the unless bit later. There will be more grift in June because the thing that's going to happen needs to be maintained. And this is my entire point of the video. Someone has to leave Kuwait. Someone is going to leave Kuwait by themselves. I'm going to deviate again here for a second. We've got about a month, and I have a cat that's trying to climb into a box that's stored very high up, very precariously, and I don't think it's going to go well. If you hear a crash, that's what it is. Anyway, mission aborted. Pretending nothing happened now because, you know, cats do suffer from embarrassment, in my opinion. Anyway, we still have a month to go, okay? And given how things are currently going in the stuffing themselves department, it is quite feasible that by the time the travel is absolutely mandatory, this individual will be a good £50 heavier. Now, £50 in a month sounds like something that cannot happen. But if you've watched my £600 life, you would have seen various individuals gain £100 in a month. £120 in a month is the most I think I've witnessed somebody gain on my £600 life. So 50 is a walk in the park for this particular individual. And talking about walking, another £50 on top of what is obviously roughly £430 worth of weight currently is going to render this particular individual immobile. And regardless of how much you claim you weigh, sweetheart, the Timo dress, the striped one, the one that looks a bit like a deck chair, a bit like Freddy Krueger during autumn, you know, when you bought that dress, and no, it hasn't shrunk in the wash, you haven't washed it enough for it to shrink in the wash, but that's another thing that I'll probably get onto, was a 5X. And it is straining at the seams, as we saw yesterday. Okay. It sits higher than it used to. Your arms barely fit inside. The shoulders bunch up because it doesn't drape anymore, because you've filled it in via the back now, not just the front. Plus, stop trying to fool us with your Spanx. We know that when untethered, your gunt currently hits just above your knees. And in the video we saw of you yesterday, your gunts, both of them, one merged into one enormous gunt, not the two you have. Two, defied gravity. I mean, Timus or not, those Spanx are worth their weight in gold. You should be an advert for Timu Spanx, because Timu Spanks obviously get the job done. If Timu Spanks can hold a double gunt in a position where it looks like you filled yourself with helium and are about to float away, then Timu Spanks must be industrial grade shit. I have gone off topic again. Anyway, on top of the roughly £430 minimum, I would suggest that this individual is currently adding another £50 in the next month, given the rate of food they are currently consuming. They will be hard pressed to be able to walk effing anywhere. And if you have to leave the country, if you've got no choice, bearing in mind that for every day you go over your tourist visa, you are charged 10 Kuwaiti dollars, dinars, dollars, whatever's droppings. And that has to be paid before you can leave, which means you either stay in Kuwait for the rest of your effing life, hiding from immigration, because when they found out you have stayed for 2 years extra, you're looking at 6, 7, 730. Is this 7,330 dinars? A dinar is $5. Don't ask me to multiply that. We're talking about close to 40,000 Canadian dollars. And if you can't pay it, you're going to jail. Anyway, whatever's. My brain is doing its ADHD thingy. I will try to get back on topic. So, if this individual can physically get on a plane, well, they've got to get to the airport. So they've got to, one, physically leave the apartment, get in an elevator and go down the stairs. That might be an issue, judging by how difficult they are finding it to get up from their chair in the first place. How difficult it is for them to get in the car. Another 3 weeks and this individual might not be able to drive themselves anywhere. Let's presume they get driven by their better 1/8. Can they get in the car? Probably not. Get to the airport? Can we walk to the whatever? No. Shall we pre-order in advance? Tell the airport we're going to need an extra wide wheelchair? Possibly. Will I need wheelchair help for the entire journey of wherever it is you're going? Almost definitely. Anyway, let's just say, for argument's sake, they can actually travel. Actually travel. Okay? Where? One, they're travelling alone. They are not travelling with their significant 1/8. Okay? Significant 1/8 is staying home, happily staying home. And hopefully looking after a particular cat particularly well, in a manner more befitting this particular cat, because this 1/8 of an individual loves this cat, and I hope they take care of this cat in absence of somebody who doesn't take care of this cat. Where can they go? The obvious answer is Canada. Canada, the land of the really expensive, comparatively to Kuwait, fast food, which would cause anyone to panic when they eat fast food in the quantity that they currently do, because while currently it's affordable, very soon it won't be in the quantities that they want. they might be implying to their better one-eighth that they need to travel to Canada because of their health, ignoring the fact that they have to reside in Canada for at least 3 months before said medical help becomes free. Okay? They might also have argued to their better one-eighth that when they are in Canada, if they're in Canada, once they're situated, applying for a certain type of visa for this particular one-eighth of a person would carry more weight because it would be, I'm established, this is this and this and this, therefore it makes more sense to apply. If the seventh eighth of the not better half, it's not half, isn't it? Better 7/8, not better 7/8. Oh, you know what I'm trying to say. Got to stop trying to be funny. Anyway, so there might be currently an impression amongst the two of them that should an individual go to Canada, the application for a certain type of visa might carry more weight. There's a joke in there somewhere. There might be an impression given to, the male half of this arrangement that they could get their health fixed, ignoring to mention that it's going to take at least 3 months before any health and things can be dealt with for free, by which time they would have probably gained 100 kilos and would be very, very lucky if they still existed to be treated, let's say. Now, there is also an argument that they could quite possibly be going somewhere else, somewhere significantly cheaper, for reasons, because they're quite keen on a nomadic lifestyle and because they have to leave, and at some point they have to leave for at least 6 weeks of a year. Maybe now's the time we get to escape the hot weather. We kill two birds with one stone, so to speak. But I think Canada is the most likely. Now, we know this individual doesn't like travelling. We know this individual has a tendency to panic as travel things are, occurring. We know that a certain individual involved with this person cannot travel to Canada. And this is my point. I believe that the certain individual is going to Canada and is going to Canada with the view of staying in Canada. They will consider themselves still married, which they're not, but let's ignore that point. It's not important. They will claim nothing is wrong between the two of them. They will claim to still be in a relationship, a better long distance one, and they will claim that this other individual will be coming soon. Now, in time, we will start getting hints that all is not well in long distance relationship paradise, and eventually one or the other will break ranks first and start bitching about the other person and how crap the other person has treated them and how bad everything really was. The only possible deviation from this scenario I can think of is if within the first 6 weeks of someone being in Canada, there is any suggestion whatsoever of infidelity on behalf of the other individual. And then, and only then, will this person, I was going to say hightail it back to Kuwait, but there's no flying, no tailing, no going fast, no anything that's going to happen here. They're going to. The only image I got through my head is that that slug in Monsters Inc. who was trying to run to class. Yeah, that's the image I've got in my head at the moment. So there's that. This person in the next month is going almost definitely to Canada alone with the intention of being there permanently. And a new arc will begin after about 3 or 4 months of pretending that everything is just fine and they're just waiting on paperwork, unless somebody flagrantly waives, if they can waive what they have. It's not a particularly waivable item. At some other big-breasted woman who happened to be pretty. Kuwait, thankfully, is about to end, in my opinion. Now, I've been wrong before. I've been disastrously wrong before, but I don't think it's for the reasons that I said. I said somebody was staying in Canada, and all indications were that they were staying in Canada, but I think somebody else waived their very, very, very poor excuse for an appendage in the direction of a pretty lady with big bosoms, and therefore somebody went back, even though that wasn't their intention. And I think the same will happen again. Somebody will go to Canada, probably to stay, unless within the first couple of weeks, 6 weeks tops, somebody puts their pickle in somebody else's jar or attempts to put their pickle in somebody else's jar. Other words, what we will see is a progression of hints that things aren't going quite to plan, and it's not because they don't love each other. And then eventually one of them will give up first, and we will be inundated with the dirt. And I'm hoping it's him who gives in first, because I will believe him and what he says. And quite frankly, it's the only way he's going to get back anything that he's invested. Consider it personal damages, insurance for injuries sustained, because quite frankly, he's lost a good 20 years off his lifespan by now, so he deserves something.